same, what's called face shape, those upright branches that cascade around and dip down on the ends. They're really well known for their beautiful bark, which gets really like stucco and plastered. You can see the one over there. Extremely high wildlife value if you love songbirds. About every other year they produce tons of berries, which are edible, but there's not much to them. They've got a really hard pit in the center. But songbirds love them. And so this is the on year. Yay, last year was not. Yeah, and at my house, my woods has got a lot of hackberries, so I have so many more birds at my bird feeders and in the backyard when they're ripe. So really a cool tree. Also, if you like butterflies, including the hackberry and tawny emperors, which to me are like the wildebeest of the butterfly world. They come out in droves where, I mean, literally you'll have hundreds, and sometimes about every 20 years they have huge, where thousands and thousands of them come out, and that's happened at Powell Gardens where, I mean, they're just landing on people, they're everywhere, cars can't help hitting them. It's kind of too bad. But
what time of the year?
they have two broods, so should be shortly the first brood coming out, and then they have another brood in late summer. It's usually that August brood that can go haywire where you get just tens of thousands of them. The only thing is in urban settings, the hackberry emperor is not so common, and the reason being is I always like to ask about butterflies, and I know this is a tree walk, why am I talking about butterflies? But I'm trying to make sure you understand trees are, you know, the top link of all of nature, our biggest biomass of nature. But hackberry emperors, you know, where do butterflies go in winter? It depends on what kind it is, and hackberry emperors spend the winter as a caterpillar in the leaf litter on the ground. And if they don't have, you know, what Chris is, and we are protecting here, a natural ground cover underneath them, the lawnmowers crush them, people, you know, rake up all their leaves and bag that all up and you kill them. That's how they survive. And in the spring, they come out of their diapause. I mean, overwintering, well, hibernation, I guess would be a better term. They crawl back up the tree and feed on the leaves. So if you don't provide a place underneath the mulch or natural leaf litter, you won't have hackberry emperors. These were planted because they would tolerate the horrible pollution we endured. Of course, in China, they still have to plant this kind of stuff in the cities because it's so polluted. It's really pretty sad. It's native there. But here it has become an invasive plant we really don't want, and I'm sure you're planning to remove these. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So, but in some of the historic cemeteries, tree of heaven is what's called a dioecious tree. It's either male or female. And in historic cemeteries, I like to leave the male trees because they can't get away. They don't produce any seed. And I like them there as a reminder of history that, you know, where we've been. And hopefully we won't go back to having to grow these because our skies are so dirty again. And it doesn't have, you know, again, doesn't link to nature, though nature always finds a way. And there's a neat little story about a bug in this plant. There's a moth, a really cool moth. A lot of us local insect lovers call the Hawaiian shirt moth. It's actually native to Mexico, where they have a similar related species to this, a tropical species, and it found its way to the trees of heaven planted all over the United States. And it's in the same family and could actually eat this, and now is spread over the whole country and feeds only on tree of heaven north of the tropics.
Ones, right?
They're like pink and yellow and just really wildly colored. It's the Ailanthus webworm moth is what it's called, though it's an American native species, but you know, from the tropical American, which is really kind of cool. So I like that story about it. Another reason to leave the male trees in historic settings. But again, all the females have the seeds that spread all over, and then you get this and takes over the woods, and it only has that one moth. So
is that the tree they planted in Brooklyn?
Yeah, the tree from Brooklyn. Yeah. Valuable timber tree in Missouri. You know, the wood of black walnut is just phenomenal. Makes the beautiful veneers. Black walnuts also host just an incredible array of moths, including the beautiful green Luna moth with the long tails. And it's just like the hackberry. You got to have natural underneath it because its cocoons are what survive the winter, and the cocoons must be in contact with the ground to survive the winter. We've tried to overwinter like in a refrigerator or anywhere else, and they don't survive the winter. It's really bizarre. They need that humidity and moisture and warmth through the winter to actually emerge the next year. And that's another reason why people ask me, well, how come we don't have Luna moths in the city? And a lot of times it's that reason. The cocoons get mowed, vacuumed up, smashed, whatever, and don't have a place to overwinter. just a tremendous wildlife tree. Obviously, squirrels with the walnut. Of course, walnuts produce juglone, a natural herbicide, so you can't grow certain plants like tomatoes underneath them. But virtually all the native wildflowers and understory trees are adapted to it, and there's no issues at all. So, they're a tree that, as I always put it, the spay and neuter varieties are still in the nursery trade and recommended for street tree planting, but no one wants the thorns, and I thought this one might be that. But Chris quickly showed me, yes, this one does have the wicked thorns, which is a reason why, we don't usually plant them in landscapes because these can go through your shoe. But they are a tremendous wildlife tree for a natural setting. I'm glad the park board keeps this one here. They have a link with a lot of really neat, interesting insects that feed on no other thing. There's actually no other. Kentucky coffee tree is the only other closely related plant that we have.